listening to the Night Demon Network. Go to nightdemon.net/subscriber to unlock more exclusive content.
Every weeknight, it's Buzz After Dark.
You like that?
With Eric Steele.
Hang out with me Monday through Friday from 7 to midnight for the Buzz After Dark. It's kind of like the Titanic, except instead of 3 hours to sink, it takes 5 hours.
Freaks come out at night, that's for sure.
Welcome to the blessed night. Yeah!
The Buzz After Dark. After Dark.
All night long.
Awesome tunes, clothing optional.
Hope you enjoyed the ride.
Weeknight 7 to midnight on 102.9 The Buzz. Bill's Rock Station.
Hello, and welcome to episode number 2 of the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. I'm your host, Nesbitt, and today we're talking about a brand new Night Demon single. How new? It's being released today. It's a killer live cover of a Scorpions classic, and it kicks ass. It features Uli John Roth himself on guitar. The single's out now digitally and as a vinyl 45. We'll get into all that, the history of the song, the live show it was recorded at. The song is In Trance. So the Scorpions song In Trance. It's from their third album, In Trance. It's the title track, 1975. It's a really great album with the first of many controversial album covers for the Scorpions. Google it and you'll see what I mean. The original Scorpions version of the song is, in my opinion, a classic. It's kind of atmospheric and dark, kind of psychedelic sounding. It seems like the lyrics are dealing with maybe some sort of addiction. I think that's part of what makes a good lyric too, is you could probably interpret it in many ways. Sometimes it seems like he's singing about drugs or alcohol, sometimes a woman or a relationship. That's my interpretation of it anyway. Night Demon's version is pretty faithful to the original, but it still has that kind of unique Night Demon feeling to it. As Dusty would say, it got demonized. It's got a heaviness and a drive to it that's not in the original. In my opinion, one is a classic, and one's destined to be a classic. I mean, you can't go wrong with early Scorpions. So before we get too deep into this, I gotta come clean. I gotta be honest. Up until recently, I wasn't a huge Scorpions fan. I was familiar with the Blackout album. I knew the hits they played on the radio growing up. I liked the Scorpions, but I didn't love the Scorpions. So I got early access to this single for the podcast, and when I heard this song, it didn't sound like the Scorpions I was familiar with. So I went back, listened to this album. I actually listened to it a lot, and I kind of fell in love with this album. I don't know what I was doing my whole life that I somehow overlooked all this awesome early Scorpions music. It's a funny story. A few weeks ago, I went down to my neighbor. I was talking to him about the Scorpions, and I was like, have you ever heard these early Scorpions albums? They're amazing. And he kind of looked at me like I had two heads, like, what is wrong with you? How do you not know this music? You're a music fan, you're a metal fan. How do you not know the Scorpions? I guess part of the reason is I never really had a friend that was really into the Scorpions that could get me into the Scorpions when I was a kid. Growing up, none of my friends were Scorpions fans. I don't know if maybe growing up in Eastern Canada had something to do with it. I don't know. The only friend I ever had that was really into the Scorpions was my friend Anne, who has excellent taste in music. So, Anne, I should have known. I should have listened to you all along. So it's this weird hole in my metal game. So, if you're like me, not as familiar as you wish you were with the Scorpions, I actually asked all the guys in Night Demon what their top 5 Scorpion songs are. That's available at nightdemon.net/subscriber. There's a ton of bonus content, including the members of Night Demon's top 5 Scorpion songs. And anyway, making up for lost time now, I'm digging into all these old Scorpions albums. And I'm really liking it. I actually finally found a copy of this album on vinyl. Found it on Discogs from a guy in Germany. I don't want to say how much I paid for it, and I definitely don't want to say how much money I spent on shipping to get it here. But I love this album. And I really, really love this song. Before covering this song, the guys in Night Demon, they're all Scorpions fans to varying degrees.
The Scorpions in general, just the courage that they had to go out and really break down some barriers and open up a lot of doors for a lot of other German bands. I think that musically, the Scorpions really took things to a new level for German bands in general.
Anyway, it turns out I'm not alone in discovering the Scorpions later on in life.
I didn't really know much about the Scorpions besides the radio songs that I would hear on the radio growing up, which didn't really do much for me, so I never really gave them a chance. But in joining Night Demon, I was turned on to the greatness that there is, especially the early stuff with Uli John Roth.
So like I mentioned, this single not only features Night Demon, but also Uli John Roth from the Scorpions on guitar. So a lot of you will already know all about Uli John Roth and the Scorpions, but for the few of you who, like me, maybe haven't given them the attention they deserve, here's a very, very brief history of Uli and the Scorpions. So, Uli John Roth. So 1972, the first Scorpions album comes out, called Lonesome Crow. It featured Rudolf Schenker on guitar and Michael Schenker on guitar. The Schenker brothers. And after this album, Michael Schenker left to form a band you may have heard of called UFO. So on their next album from 1974, Fly to the Rainbow, enter Uli John Roth. So right away on this album, you can hear his influence. His guitar playing is amazing. So the album after this is In Trance, the album we've been talking about. It's from the very next year, 1975. And again, the guitar playing on it is really great. So Uli John Roth plays in the Scorpions up until 1978, 2 more albums with 2 more controversial album covers, and 1 live album named Tokyo Tapes. And if you're like me and you're not too familiar with the Scorpions, go listen to that live album right now. Actually, not right now. After you're done listening to this podcast, then go listen to it. It'll blow your mind. Also has a great live version of In Trance. So 1978, after 4 albums and a live album, Uli John Roth leaves the Scorpions. I say artistic differences. I think it was like an amicable split, but that's his last album. Goes on to form Electric Sun and has a very, very successful solo career after that. But Uli John Roth is truly a legend.
When you talk about the scenes of hard rock and heavy metal from the West Coast, Bay Area thrash scene, the early heavy metal emergence in Los Angeles, for guys like us, yes, you have your big guitar influences from the big 3. You got Tony, you got Richie, and you got Jimmy. But they spoke on such a wide platform. I mean, looking back, they influenced so many subgenres of rock and heavy metal. And, on the West Coast in the late 70s and early 80s, we had Eddie and we had Randy. And so we had our guys, we had our heroes, we had the best they were here. And they had surpassed Richie and Tony and Jimmy. I mean, on a technical level. And yeah, even there was some great songwriting, of course, from these guys. But on the West Coast, there was only two guys that mattered, and they were both from Germany, and they both came from the same fucking band, and that was Michael and Uli.
So right now, I'm kind of digging into his era of the Scorpions, and I'm blown away by his guitar playing and his style. And I'm not the only one.
Fuck, I love his style. It's just really cool. Very Hendrixy, which for me, you know, Hendrix was a huge influence on me when I was learning guitar.
I asked Jarvis about Uli John Roth's guitar style, and he brought up a good point, something that I'd never really thought about before.
Germany has been so rooted in traditions and being straightforward and doing things with a methodology that sometimes, you know, I think maybe the artistic freedom or the coloring outside of the lines that can sometimes be beautiful, the improvisations, they didn't exist then in music. And it wasn't until the Scorpions that you had guys like Uli who just really had the feel. There's an emotion that comes from the notes that he plays on the guitar. The way that these guys bend the vibrato on their left hand, it's just the vibrations that come from it. It's soul soothing. I can't really describe it in any other way. And they came from a place that was so regimented musically, and they were able to color outside of the lines and actually bring more people together by doing that.
Uli John Roth's guitar playing is very experimental, actually has a lot of kind of psychedelic elements to it. So you might think it's a strange choice for Night Demon to cover. A track like In Trance is quite a departure from what Night Demon traditionally had been playing up to this point. And at first, some of the band members, they weren't quite sure about covering this song. Here's Dusty.
Jarvis and Brent Woodward, actually, when he was still in the band, we would listen to In Trance in the van when we were on tour back when Brent was in the band in 2014, 2015. And, you know, Jarvis and him would say, wow, it'd be really cool to cover In Trance one day. And just like the way that the song is and how airy and moody it is, I really didn't think that I could make the song sound like that good as a drummer. And then one day, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, either 2018 or something, we were in a rehearsal space in Germany, and actually in Hamburg. We were in Hamburg rehearsing, and Jarvis was like, let's go for it. Let's do In Trance. And I was just like, you know, I don't think I'm going to do it justice. And he's like, just do it. You know, don't complain about it. Let's just play the song. And I reluctantly started to play it, and I was pleasantly surprised by the outcome at the end of the first time we tried it. And I fell in love with the song after that. It really grew on me, and it's got a special place in my catalog as far as songs that I play and songs that make me feel a certain way.
And it is fitting that the guys were in Germany the first time they rehearse the Scorpions classic. Also, the first time they play the song live was in Germany at the Bang Your Head Festival, July 13th, 2018.
I'm pretty sure the first time we performed it was at the Bang Your Head Festival in Germany, of course.
On Friday the 13th, July 2018, we performed at the Bang Your Head Festival in Ballingen, Germany. This is a great festival. This festival draws, I don't know, maybe 18, 20,000 people, but really true metalheads to this thing. And the lineup is always fantastic. Anyway, we were out there playing, and we had, I think, like the 3:30 or 4 p.m. slot. And the sun had just come over the hill and was just pointing right at the stage, at the black stage, us wearing our black clothes. And it was so fucking hot that I actually started to smell something burning at one point when I was singing, and looked down to see that my shoes, my fucking Doc Marten boots, my signature stage wear, was actually smoking. It was that hot, and the sun, it was the blackness was attracting the sun so much. it was so crazy. Armand and I are running around, and at a Night Demon show, there's no stops. But between songs, I still vividly remember us somehow just kind of looking at each other, going, "Hey, man, are you on fire? Because I think I'm on fire." Just crazy shit. Anyway, we're getting right near the end of the set, and I don't know what came over me. I just said, "Guys, in trance. Now is the moment. Let's do it. In trance." And I looked over to Kit, our buddy Kit, who was on the side of the stage, who had come all the way from Alabama. He had played Rocky that day. I told him, after this song, grab my mic stand and take it all the way to the front of the riser. They have like this ego riser at Bang Your Head. It's basically a platform, like a ramp that goes, 25, 30 feet into the audience. So I had him place that up there as Rocky. I believe he was still dressed as Rocky. It was right after the Chalice. And he brought it out there, and I walked out there and started to perform the song, Armand and I together. It was a very Scorpions moment. It's kind of like something that they would do at the front of the stage when they start a ballad or something. But it wasn't what people had expected. And I mean, really, at that point, we had solidified ourselves as at least not only a band that the Germans have come to love and know through our hard work and our dedication to keep coming back and playing for them, but really as respecting them and their heritage.
Here's Kit Ekman, longtime friend of the band and occasional crew member. Also occasional on-stage Rocky.
Well, fast forward to the Bang Your Head Festival in Balingen, Germany in July 2018. Night Demon were playing on the huge outdoor stage, and I was flying in to be their crew for the gig. So I got in the night before, went to the fest for a few hours, met up with the band at their hotel in this tiny town miles away from the festival grounds. Armand and I were bunking together that night because he and I have this tendency of going to hit the local bars late into the evening while the other two sane guys try to get some sleep. And we did that night for sure. So I remember waking up the next morning. It was the morning of the gig, and I had this hangover from all the Hefeweizen and Pilsner and God knows what else. And the first thing I hear is Armand working on some parts of a song on his guitar. And I recognized the melody immediately, and I was like, oh my God, that's In Trance. So that was how I first found out they were going to play it that day, and I was so excited I could barely stand it. Headache was gone, all I could do was I couldn't wait to get to the stage, get to the festival grounds, see Night Demon play In Trance on that big stage. It was a really, really hot day. During the gig, I remember I was standing side stage, and Armand came over and said he thought his shoes were melting into the stage. It was that hot. But anyway, when it came time for In Trance, Rocky, the mascot, takes a wireless microphone, a mic stand, out to the end of this catwalk that juts out to the crowd because, it was important get the band as close to the crowd as they could for playing this song, to have this, emotional connection. So Jarvis and Armand both go out there to the end of the catwalk under this just merciless, oppressive sun and heat, and they did the song from there. At the beginning, Jarvis said something about how Germany was such a special country to the band and why it was such an honor for them to play tribute to German heroes right there at this festival. And then from the first notes of In Trance, the crowd went completely nuts. I had goosebumps. I could feel the tears welling up in my eyes. I don't know if it was the first time they ever played In Trance in Germany, but I think it might have been. At any rate, it was a really, really special moment. I think definitely for me as a fan of the band and a friend of the band, and I think also for them as well, and for everybody who was in the audience that day.
So here's a clip of Night Demon's first ever public performance of In Trance in Germany, captured in this bootleg audience recording taken at the Bang Your Head Festival.
some minds. Nobody was expecting that. It was kind of a last-minute idea, and went off amazingly. So then we kind of just kept that in the set here and there for like an encore or something like that. We'd throw that in.
Promoter in front of the band, Annika Verdeman, was at that show and remembers clearly hearing In Trance for the first time.
Hi, I'm Annika Verdeman. I'm from Germany in Europe. Yeah, a very special show I remember witnessing was them playing Bang Your Head in 2018. That was the first time in Europe when they played In Trance from the Scorpions. And I just remember when Jarvis told the crowd which song they were going to play. Oh no, he didn't tell them, but he said that they were going to play a song of Our Fatherland. That's how he said it. Yeah, and also Scorpions is one of my favorite bands, so it was really special for me as well. Also because it was a surprise. I didn't know they were going to play that song on that day. When they started the song, everyone, including myself, realized at once what song it was, and everyone was singing along, and yeah, it was perfect.
I remember the day after Bang Your Head. I mean, that was a long party night. That was a pretty big victory for us. Sometimes you leave the stage at something like that, and you just know you've made your mark, and it's a very proud moment. And the cool thing is, at these festivals, they put you up in really nice hotels and stuff. And they have like this newspaper. It's called the Bang Your Head Courier. And it's a full-on newspaper. They put that outside of your door each day of the 3 or 4 day weekend that they do. And I just remember the next day, I'm not going to say it was morning because I remember being pretty hungover. But I remember sometime in the afternoon when I woke up, I stepped outside of my hotel room, and on the floor was the Bang Your Head Courier, and there was a picture of me on the front page, singing, and this sea of people out there, of Night Demon shirts and Night Demon supporters, and I was just so proud. And we are very proud to return to Bang Your Head next year on our 10th anniversary. I'm hoping we could do something special for it, but we will be playing there next summer for sure. This COVID thing's going to end, and we have the date set.
So they bust this song out live in Germany, and it goes over huge. And like I said, it is kind of a departure in style from what Night Demon had been playing up to this point. But really any song, when you put it through the filter of these three guys, comes out sounding like Night Demon.
In Trance, we just started. Jarvis brought the idea up about playing that song. And it was kind of one of those like, oh, yeah, it's a great song, but I don't know, can we pull that off? It's pretty ballady. It's not really a Night Demon kind of thing. But as we've shown over time is that, well, there really isn't just a Night Demon thing. We can kind of do anything, really, that we want to and turn it into a Night Demon thing, which I think we did with that song.
So that's something I kind of briefly mentioned last episode. In 2020, the series of singles that Night Demon's been dropping, you can really feel them stretching out and expanding their style. Sounds like they're experimenting a little, but still very much sounding like themselves. And like Armand said, they can pretty much do whatever they want. They're always going to sound like Night Demon.
Night Demon, the new single In Trance, live in Germany, featuring legendary Scorpions guitarist Uli John Roth. Limited edition 7-inch vinyl available on Century Media Records. Visit nightdemon.net/shop to get a copy of your own before they are all gone. Featuring the B-side of the Scorpions classic, Top of the Bill. Night Demon with Uli John Roth, In Trance, live in Germany. Don't be left behind. Grab your copy while you still can at nightdemon.net/shop.
So In Trance is the first live single that Night Demon has ever released. And it's from a live show in Hamburg, Germany. And there's a reason they picked Hamburg, Germany. Hamburg, Germany is extremely important in the story of Night Demon.
Hamburg has always been a very important city for Night Demon. Really, Germany as a whole has been an essential lifeline for Night Demon. Without the metal fans in that country and the press and the promoters and the festivals, I don't know where we would be today without them. But specifically, the city of Hamburg has, over the years, just become one of Night Demon's many second homes.
So headlining the Hell Over Hammaburg Festival is a culmination of years of Night Demon playing, touring, and gigging in Hamburg and Germany. Here's Martin Brunt.
My name is Martin Brandt, and I'm from Germany. I am a writer for Death Forever magazine and the editor-in-chief and publisher of That's Metal fanzine. I've seen the band many times, but from all the cities I've seen Night Demon in, I have most often seen them in Hamburg. I've seen them in Hafenklang, Bambi Galore, Kulturpalast, and Knust. But the very first time I saw them in Hamburg was at the Astra-Stube. I've been going to concerts in Hamburg for more than 20 years. It's only about 90 minutes away from my hometown, but I've never been to Astra-Stube before or after. I had to ask some people who live in Hamburg where Astra-Stube is, and it's a very small place, right under a bridge, and it's more like a pub than a concert venue. I remember when I arrived, I walked into the room and only made 2 or 3 steps into the room, and I was basically on stage because it was at the same level as the rest of the room. There were only very few people there for that gig. I had 2 friends with me, and I remember that I met my friend Lim Schnoor from Hamburg there. In the 80s, Lim was the manager for Halloween. There might have been about 15 other people there, but there was no space for more anyways. But when the band hit the stage, it was like it didn't matter to them because they played like it was a crowd of hundreds. Everybody was really into it, and I remember they were selling their merch for a very reasonable price, and everybody was buying several different shirts and stuff after the gig. It was a weird location, but I'm really glad I went because it was a night to remember. Some people from Hamburg saw the Beatles at Star Club before their big break. Well, I saw Night Demon at Astra-Stube.
When you're talking to people that saw these early Night Demon shows, all of their stories have a similar theme. A young, hungry, 3-piece band blowing away audiences with a tight, powerful performance. These early shows in Hamburg really seemed to leave a huge impression on audience members who were there. Here's Dennis Rose.
Hi, my name is Dennis Rose. I work as a senior label manager at The Orchard. We're a digital distribution company, and I'm responsible for mostly rock and metal labels, and we distribute their music to outlets like Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, Apple, Google, and so on. And I'm a close friend of the band Night Demon since I met them in Hamburg in 2014. The first time I saw Night Demon perform live was on May the 26th of 2014 in Hamburg. It was at a small venue called Astra-Stube. I think it was just only 20 people. You've got to know that it's a very small venue under a bridge in Hamburg. So afterwards I hung out outside with a girl, and then Jarvis said hi to me. So because there were only a couple of people left outside after the show. But I hung out in front of the club with Jarvis and we chatted a lot. I told him that I work in the music industry. At this point I worked at another company, also based here in Germany, but I did the same job as I do now, like distributing heavy metal labels digitally. And it was a lot of fun. I liked the guy a lot. I think the girl was not that impressed with the music and with this kind of stuff because she was not that much into heavy metal at all. But hey, I got a new favorite band that night, so it was very cool. And the funny thing is that Jarvis told me, yeah man, we've been out on the road and we're just experiencing so much shit, so this happened and that happened and things are not going that great, blah blah, but we're out here to play in front of you fans and stuff like this. So And they had to leave, so everyone from the band got in the van. I think Bruno was the tour manager at that time, can't remember. We said goodbye, and then the door closed, and then the van drove backwards, and they slammed this bridge. So it was just like they crashed into the bridge, and then the van door opened again, and Ja was just looking out with his sunglasses and said, "That's what I'm talking about, man." The door closed and they drove off into the night and left me there laughing. So and I thought, oh man, that's so cool. And later on we got in contact via email, and a friendship was born there. I think it was the first time I saw them there. And afterwards, I attended every Night Demon show which they played here in Hamburg.
So Hamburg is a metal town. Audiences there aren't easily impressed. You really have to deliver live, on stage, to win these audiences over. And that's exactly what Night Demon does. And before long, Hamburg becomes like a second home for Night Demon.
I think there is a very close relationship between Night Demon and the city Hamburg, because Hamburg is well known for being in the north of Germany, and people are not that easy to please when it comes to live shows and stuff like this, because it's a very active scene. You've got a lot of concerts going on there. There's a very strong club scene. The Beatles started there and stuff like this, and Hamburg is very well known for being a city where bands can perform live. And you really got to make an impression if you wanna make it in Hamburg, especially as a newcomer band. But I think that Night Demon did exactly that, because they started early on to play there. It's one of the first tours in 2014, I think, which they did there, and from there on they developed pretty strongly. So, like I said, I saw them every time they played in Hamburg, and they went bigger and bigger. They switched from small clubs to bigger clubs, and even headlined shows. And people in Hamburg are very much like they're from the northern district of Germany, and people just like standing in the crowd with crossed arms with this impression like, okay, now show me what you've got. So if you're cool, then I'm with you. If not, then just fuck off. And Night Demon convinced everybody at early shows with their pure passion and with the power they had. I think I never saw a trio band with just like one guitar bringing so much power on stage. So it was a very impressive sound for just three guys. So there was a very strong following after a couple of years and a couple of gigs, and Night Demon became bigger and bigger. And I think every time when they go on tour in Europe, they have their base camp in Hamburg. They stayed at my place for 1 week, and they've got a lot of friends in Hamburg. So it's always fun to have them back in our town, and they are just welcomed with open arms.
So not only does the city become like a second home, the people of Hamburg accept the guys in Night Demon like one of their own.
My name is Jörg Düsedau, and my nickname is Schröck, which is not so easy to say or write down, not even for Germans. I'm an agent. I run a booking agency in Hamburg, Germany, called Dragon Productions, and I represent artists like Primordial, Psychotic Waltz, DAD, Moon Sorrow, Angel Witch, Ross the Boss, Humpher, Grave, Lake of Tears, and also Michael Schenker and the person that we're talking about today, Uli John Roth. The first time I actually saw Night Demon in Hamburg is not so long ago. It was in 2018 when Night Demon played with Sirith Ungol at the Kulturpalast in Hamburg. But I saw the band before. That was, I think the first time was 2017 at the Headbangers Open Air. There is certainly a special relation between Night Demon and Hamburg. I remember being with Jarvis at the Bullet Show at the Logo, and there were many people and friends coming up saying hi, hey, what are you doing here, blah, blah, blah. He looked happy, and I realized he felt very home. I remember there was a guy coming up to him and saying like, "Oh, hey, you look like Jarvis from Night Demon," and he was laughing. Yeah, because I am, and it felt natural. There was not this stardom that you sometimes see with certain bands or artists. This is something that Hamburg really appreciates. I think being normal, being with them, being one of them.
Now, when they say Hamburg is a second home, it figuratively is a second home, but in time it literally becomes a second home for them. Touring around Europe, playing festivals, there's a lot of downtime between shows, and Night Demon would spend weeks of their downtime in Hamburg.
We found ourselves there a lot when we were in between tours or in between festivals. I mean, imagine being in Europe from America and being in a band and not having, not owning any equipment there yet or owning a vehicle there yet or anything like that. And just waiting in Europe for between festivals, sometimes weeks. Our friend Claudia, who we stay with out there in Hamburg occasionally, actually more than occasionally, we actually have keys to her house. She's fantastic. She's been a great friend and such a great supporter over the years, and we owe her a huge gratitude of debt.
Hi, this is Claudia. I live in Hamburg and I work as a self-employed artist, layouting magazines, doing lots of concert posters and flyers, if there are shows to do flyers for, that is. First time I saw Night Demon live in Hamburg was in 2016 at the Bamberger Law. They played The Curse of the Damned, but for reasons only known to themselves, they played it from back to forth.
The show she's talking about is June 26, 2016. And it sounds like a really cool set list. So with the more time they spend in Hamburg, and with the help of some good friends, Hamburg starts to accept Night Demon as one of their own.
I'm not too sure about Hamburg being their second home. I always thought it was their first. I mean, we bought some yoga mats, went to punk concerts and goth parties, did some babysitting, went out drinking on the Reeperbahn, all the stuff Hamburg people normally do. So come on, guys, you have your keys.
There was also a week or so that we were there that we decided to spend writing, and basically wrote the beginnings of what turned into Kill the Pain. Most of the initial parts of that song were written in Hamburg, either at the apartment that we were staying at. I had brought a laptop there with a little recording interface, and we also had access to a friend's rehearsal room. So yeah, we'd get up around 3, 4, make some breakfast, hit the showers, and then walk to the train station with our guitars, take a train. It was about a 15-minute ride. And then when we would get off the station, it was about another 10-minute walk over this bridge to get into this little industrial area where this rehearsal room was. So those dudes were cool enough to let us use their equipment for about a good week there.
We were fortunate enough to have fantastic people around us in Hamburg. And a lot of these people were there with us from the beginning. Very, very humble beginnings of us sleeping in some crazy prostitute, crack-infested hostel on the Reeperbahn, hearing all kinds of crazy shit going on outside.
So over weeks and months spent in Hamburg, Night Demon joins the ranks of some other bands who made Hamburg a second home.
Hamburg has always had a mythical kind of thing for me, growing up listening to the Beatles and all that, hearing the myth, I know it's not a myth, but it sounds like mythology of them cutting their teeth there and, sleeping in these tiny little basement or like attics, while they were playing 7 nights a week in these dirty clubs. And, that's really where they kind of became a great live band. And so when we got the opportunity to go there, I really just wanted to explore the city and really soak it all in and get the vibes, and which I did, and which we all did together many, many, many nights that turned into mornings.
Night Demon had a term for it. We called it the Grim Reeperbahn because we would head to once we started getting comfortable in the city, we would head to the Reeperbahn 10 or 11 at night, and we wouldn't come out of there sometimes till 8, 9, 10 in the morning, just depending on what the vibe was and how much we had consumed that night. Just some really, really wild times out there for sure.
What is up, Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners? This is your resident motor mouth, Jarvis Leatherby, telling you about something very, very special here. The Decibel Hall of Fame Anthology, Volume 3. This is a book, guys. That's right. We all know Decibel Magazine as the #1 metal magazine in North America for many years running. But you know what? They also have a fucking killer book series, okay? I want to tell you about this. The Decibel Hall of Fame Anthology, Volume 3. This limited edition hardcover includes 25 Hall of Fame stories from Decibel's revered monthly series of artist interviews on the making of their classic extreme music albums. Featured in this book are stories behind classic albums such as Stained Class by Judas Priest, Apocalyptic Raids from our good buddy Tom Warrior's Hellhammer, Pleasure to Kill from Teutonic German terror creator, Court in the Act from the legendary new wave of British heavy metal gods Satan, and of course, Abigail from the legendary King Diamond. And last but not least, Night Demon's personal favorite, Heartwork from the only other band from Liverpool, Carcass. So guys, please head on over right now to store.decibelmagazine.com and grab a copy to read the definite stories of heavy metal's definitive albums. Put in the promo code Night Demon upon checkout to receive 10% off. That's Night Demon, one word, all capital letters. Get your 10%, store.decibelmagazine.com. While you're there, guys, go ahead and grab a subscription of the Mag 2. They've got a great vinyl flexi series. Do yourselves a favor here. Get on the level. Store.decibelmagazine.com. Promo code Night Demon. See ya.
So this single was recorded March 2nd, 2019 at the Hell Over Hammaburg Festival in Hamburg, Germany. Hell Over Hammaburg is a yearly metal festival, and it took place at a venue called the Markthalle. The building itself was built in 1913, and it has a very rich history when it comes to rock and metal. Bands like AC/DC, Hawkwind, the Ramones, Van Halen, UFO, Judas Priest, Motorhead, Dio, even Maiden played it on their Killers World Tour in 1981. So the building and the venue itself has quite a history when it comes to metal.
The first time that we ever went to the Markthalle, Armand and I went with our friend Claudia, who we stay with out there in Hamburg occasionally. But anyway, she took us to a goth club there one night. And the goth death rock thing, I mean, Armand and I have always been into. Depeche Mode is one of my favorite bands, and obviously I love old Death Cold. There's a ton of stuff from that era. A lot of 80s underground stuff that I've been hip to for years. Needless to say, it was a it was a little bit of an awkward night, but it was great people watching, and it was a really good time. But that was the first time we ever stepped foot into the Markthalle, and had been to some other shows there after that. But just to be on stage and to be asked to headline the Hell Over Hammaburg Festival, sold out with 1,000 people in that main room, and just to think of all the history, all the stuff that's happened on that stage in the past. And this was our moment. This was our time to come back after those humble beginnings in Hamburg, coming up at the Astra Strube, getting into car accidents on the way trying to leave the venue. All this stuff. It's just, it's such a trip. Life is an interesting journey, and you know, if you hang in there long enough and you keep going and you trust your intuition and you follow the path that feels right to you, sometimes things like this happen and you catch lightning in a bottle.
That was a really amazing show for Night Demon. It was on March 2nd, 2019 at the Markthalle in Hamburg, Germany. And the venue there is really cool. It's just a really unique setup, the way that it kind of has like a half-arch crescent look to it. And it's kind of like a long hall when you're on stage.
This wasn't the first time Night Demon had played this venue. October 31st, 2018. They played Heavy Hamburg Halloween with Satan as the headliner. So Heavy Hamburg Halloween. We'll do a full episode on that later. The festival is a creation, kind of the brainchild of Night Demon. Germany doesn't even have Halloween. So this is kind of Night Demon bringing their favorite holiday to this part of Europe. Also worth noting, Night Demon didn't technically play. It was the guys in Night Demon, but they were a surprise opening act, and they did an entire Misfits cover set. And they even included a Danzig song. In case anyone doesn't know, I'm a huge Misfits Danzig fan. If I had a time machine and could go back to that show, man. So technically they'd played the venue as an opening act, but this time it was Night Demon who was headlining the bill.
And we headlined Hell Over Hammaburg, and just talk about a magical night from start to finish. Here we are. I remember the first time we played in Hamburg in 2014. We played at some little corner, like, bar coffee shop thing, and I don't know, there's probably about 10 or 11 people there, and then here we are, you know, at that time it would have been 5 years later, we're headlining at the Markthalle, and everybody was electric that night, and I think a lot of people were just kind of there to see whether or not we could hold our own on the big stage and be a headliner in Hamburg, and there's a lot of great bands on the bill that night, and we went out there and did exactly what we do, and I think that everybody went home happy at the end of the show.
Here we are in Hamburg. This is our time. This is our day. After all these years slugging it out, and especially being in this city, which can be a very tough city on you if you don't know anybody, and you're hanging in the slums, basically. We had come so far, and to be able to headline this prestigious sold-out event, we wanted to make it special.
So the stakes are pretty high for Night Demon. They're headlining this festival at this classic venue in Hamburg. And what better way to plant your flag and cement your place in the German metal scene than an appearance on stage by a German metal legend?
The whole thing with Uli and getting him to play with us at the Hamburg show was basically, again, another Jarvis, pulling shit out of his hat trick, kind of magical. I don't know how he does it, but he does.
The first time that we tried to hook up with Uli was at the Rock Hard Festival, and it was the second year that we were playing it. We had played it the previous year, and they had given us a do-over because they had opened the gates late, and people were super pissed because half the audience missed us. And when you've got you're playing a festival for 10,000 people, I mean, you'd love to play in front of them, right? But anyway, they made good on it and got us in a higher slot the next year, and they never do repeat bands year after year. So that was great. Night Demon holds that honor at the Rock Hard Festival. However, the next year that we played, Uli John Roth was playing after us. So I had hit up Schroeg and I said, hey, ask Uli if he wants to come do In Trance with us. And, Uli said, look, man, I'm not going on stage before my set. And that rightfully so. It's like, who the hell are these guys? I don't fucking know these guys. I'm not going to do that. Like, yeah, I'm going to go out before my set and play my song, my hit with you guys. Fuck no, right? So anyway, that was the shutdown number one. But, the persistence of Night Demon is a force to be reckoned with. So later on, yeah. Oh man, this is there's got to be a whole nother episode on the shenanigans of this festival. I'm just telling you right now. Oh my God, this was the craziest weekend. But anyway, later that night, after the show, we're in the hotel bar, the band hotel bar. It was awesome. It was like one of these dream moments. So it's like the guys from Saxon, the guys from Armored Saint, and Uli. And we're just all sitting there drinking in this bar. I've got a great photo, I think, of me and Biff and Uli. And it's really, really cool. But anyway, it was funny. We started talking there, and, everybody had a couple drinks, and Uli was just, telling Biff from Saxon, look at this guy. He's crazy. He thinks I'm going to play with him. He's crazy, But so basically in the midnight hour, I don't know if we're talking a week before the Hell Over Hammaburg show, things started to kind of come together with Schroeg and Uli. Hey, I got you in the end there, Uli. Thank you so much, man.
So with hard work and determination and a lot of help from Schroeg, Uli reluctantly agrees to to step on stage with Night Demon. Here's Schrorg.
At a certain point, Jarvis came up and said, "Hey man, you're the agent for Uli, and I really want Uli to join us as special guest for our first headline set at the Hell Over Hammaburg." And I knew that Uli doesn't do that. He doesn't like it, he's not happy with it, he doesn't feel comfortable, he doesn't know the people, and so on. But I really like the idea of having Uli playing to his audience without him knowing that it's his audience. It's basically an extreme metal or very open-minded metal crowd, but more the extreme and dark crowd. Uli was even talking to me about the names on the poster, and he finally made it to Hamburg. He combined it with a trip to visit his mom in Hanover.
So they get it lined up with Uli John Roth. He's going to come, he's going to play live with them. One song, on stage, Scorpions classic, at a classic venue where Night Demon is headlining the bill. Now the guys are confident they could play the song. They've been playing it for a while, infrequently in the set list. But playing a song live and playing it with another guitar player, especially a metal legend who originally appears on the track, they're two different things.
Hey guys, Jarvis jumping in here. I want to tell you about Shadow Kingdom Records. Shadow Kingdom was the first domestic label to release Night Demon on CD. They put out the EP in 2013, and they also released the vinyl version of Live Darkness. Listen, you guys need to get your ass to the Shadow Kingdom Records store, okay? Right now, they're offering 10% off for all Night Demon Heavy Metal podcast listeners. Just go to the website, put in the code NIGHTDEMON10. That's Night Demon 10, all capital letters, Night Demon 10. No spaces. Put that promo code in upon checkout to get 10% off. Right now, guys, they have the Bloodstar 7-inch, which has sold over 1,500 copies, and these guys cannot hold on to it. So this next pressing, you want to get that before it goes out, okay? Also, SKR Compilation Volume 1. Guys, this is free on Bandcamp. They're giving it away for free. So not only are you going to go to ShadowKingdomRecords.com and put in the code, all capital letters, no spaces, Night Demon 10 upon checkout, you're also going to go to their Bandcamp site and get this compilation for free. You're going to hear tons of fantastic fucking heavy metal. If you love us, you're going to love this label. Check it out, ShadowKingdomRecords.com. Put in the promo code NIGHTDEMON10 and receive 10% off of your entire order. Do it.
Tensions are running a little high leading up to this gig. Not that the guys have any hesitation about playing the song itself. They've been playing it occasionally in their set list for a while now at this point.
We've covered in Trance a bunch in the past, but never with Uli. I think we've been playing in Trance, I don't know, at least a year or a year and a half before Uli stepped on stage with us.
So like I said, Night Demon have been covering in Trance for a while now in their set. Here's a version from a year earlier, from 2018. I grabbed this from an audience-recorded bootleg, but you can tell that it's already a huge crowd favorite. So Night Demon clearly nails the song live, But with Uli John Roth on the way, there's still a lot of uncertainty. There's not a lot of communication, and the guys are kind of wondering, how's this going to go down?
When he finally agreed, which I think he did, I don't think we got the final confirmation that he was going to do it until a week or two before the show. So leading up to that was just fuck, is he going to do it? Is he not going to do it? Is he going to come for sound check? Are we going to be able to try this out with him? I mean, for me, I was like, well, fuck, there's two guitar parts in this song, especially in the solo. It's a harmony part. Well, what part does he play? What part am I going to play? So I started watching videos of him on YouTube and stuff to kind of watch and see which parts he plays so I could learn the others. Well, I ended up learning both parts anyway, just in case. So here we are at the show. Again, yeah, he's in town. What time's he going to show up? Well, I don't know. Is he going to show up right before the set? I mean, right before the song? I mean, what the fuck? We're still going to, I'd it'd be amazing to just sit down with him for a minute and just go over a couple things.
So it's coming up on Showtime. And no Uli. Here's Schrorg.
He sent me his position on WhatsApp to show me that he left the hotel, and I was looking at the phone all the time, and I saw him coming from the Reeperbahn, passing by the Markthalle where the event was, just going into the opposite direction. I called him, said where are you going? He said, yeah, I missed the street, and but I have to turn around, and he was on the Elbbrücken, which are the bridges in the south of Hamburg, and you have really one chance to get off at the right, or you go all the way down the highway down to the south, where the next, I don't know, maybe it takes another 5 or 10 minutes before you can get back and turn around. And that would have been a huge disaster. But he managed to get off there and turned around, and finally he arrived at the venue 60 minutes before show start. It was really tight.
Well, finally we got the word he was going to show up about an hour before our set. Oh, what a weight off of our shoulders, off of my shoulders, to meet him. But still, we weren't sure if, he was going to think we're some kids that we forced him to do this thing for or something, but it wasn't like that at all. He showed up, he brought his guitar backstage, and I'll tell you what, that's one of the highlights of my career, is getting to sit down with him.
I remember that Uli was really impressed by Armand, how well prepared he was, that he knew basically every guitar harmony to his main guitar melody, and Armand was asking Uli, should I play this version or that version? Uli said, no, play this one, then I play that one, and it really went off well, and I could already see that Uli thought this is going to be good.
He's got these custom guitars, and anyway, he didn't bring a guitar with him. He's got many of them, but he had one in Hamburg. That's his Hamburg guitar. So when he pulled this thing out of the case, I mean, there were fucking feathers and dream catchers attached to it, and jewels, and it was bedazzled with all this stuff. It was really cool, but the strings were all rusty and stuff, and he's like, oh, you didn't change my strings, but it was Uli. I mean, he was fantastic.
So it's an hour before the guys go on stage. Uli John Roth shows up, and the guys get to hang out with a guitar legend backstage. Almost all of the guys get to hang out with a guitar legend backstage.
Before we went out there and played the set, Uli John Roth showed up backstage about an hour before we went on stage. And for me, having him backstage is a little bit different experience, because I ended up spending the whole hour getting a snare drum dialed in, because I didn't bring a snare drum with me, and the back line that the venue had provided, the snare drum was just not adequate to handle our set, and I knew it. I spent the hour that Armand and Jarvis had this really awesome quality time with Uli, and here I am on the other side of the wall cursing at a snare drum that I'm trying to fix, and luckily I have a drummer's first aid kit in my stick bag, so I was able to doctor up the snare. I actually borrowed a drum head from another guy in a band that was getting ready to leave the venue, and he was just so happened to be from Boston, and I was like, hey, can I borrow that snare drum head? I really need it. And he was a little reluctant to let me borrow it, but if he didn't let me borrow that head, the set would have been just screwed. Yeah, Armand and Uli went over the harmonies, and he didn't want to rehearse with us. He just wanted to keep it natural and just, go with the flow. And Armand wanted to go over a lot of the harmonies that he was going to be doing with Uli and that kind of thing. So we didn't sound check with him at all. We didn't even sound check our band. We don't really like to go up there and kind of do too much with sound check. We just like to go up and line check and go for it.
He didn't want to rehearse, and we really wanted to rehearse. So, I mean, you kind of don't want to do that, right? You kind of don't want to walk in blind.
He's a funny guy, really nice too, Try to play the song with him and then let him tell me that I'm playing it wrong because I was playing the chord, a minor chord instead of a major chord. We said, no, this is not minor, it's in major. So, okay, Uli, whatever you say. I still like to play the minor version when we play it anyway. So, oh man, but that was amazing. Just getting to sit with him back there and kind of listen to him talk about his guitar and stuff. And we went over the parts a little bit, and it was like, all right, well, here we go. We're going to do this. We got to hit the stage.
So the guys go on stage in Hamburg, deliver a blistering slab of Night Demon classics. So the main set is a great set list. Basically, most of my favorite Night Demon songs. Here's Dusty with a rundown of the main set.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the set list here. Welcome to the Night, Full Speed Ahead, the Overkill intro into Dawn Rider, then into Made in Hell, which was a treat for everybody because we don't really play Made in Hell live all that much. Howling Man, Heavy Metal Heat, Curse of the Damned, Hollowed Ground, Ritual, Black Widow, Save Me Now, The Chalice, Flight of the Manicore, Screams in the Night, Darkness Remains. That's 16 songs right there, counting Overkill. And I remember just blistering through those songs.
So we played, 75, 80 minutes of a blistering, full-on Night Demon set. And so what you hear, those Night Demon chants, when you hear the song in Trance on this recording, this is the encore of the show.
So Night Demon's running through their main set. And remember, nobody in the audience has any idea that Uli John Roth is about to take stage during the encore of this already historic Night Demon show. Again, here's Kit Ekman.
And one of the most remarkable things about it all was that it was a secret that actually was well kept. I mean, I was hanging out in the venue all weekend, and people kept asking me, so I hear Night Demon might be doing something special. But no one knew what. Of course, my lips were sealed, and I don't think more than a handful of people in the whole place knew what was going to happen. And it's for the best that way. I mean, you don't want to know what your Christmas presents are before you open them. It ruins the surprise.
So anyway, he watched the first few songs of our set. There was an area where he could kind of hide, or no one could see him because this was a secret. No one knew he was going to play. Nobody besides us, and no one at the venue. We brought him into the back door, all that kind of stuff. It was pretty cool. So looking over and watching him watch me play or watch us play for the first few songs was pretty fucking awesome too. And then he disappeared. So I said, oh, all right, well, hopefully he likes it.
So I was watching the beginning of the set from side stage in case they needed help with anything, like I often do. And they were on fire, man. They were just absolutely revved up, mowing them down. I mean, a Night Demon gig is always an intense, high and energy kind of thing, but they seemed extra pumped tonight, and with good reason. So I'm watching and I'm rocking out a bit, and suddenly I just sense this movement. I glance over my shoulder. There's Uli. Whoa. Uli's standing right next to me, and he's just checking out the band. He's standing, nobody could see him, of course. He was kind of off to the side, but he was smiling, nodding his head, kind of grooving. And I don't know, he stood there for 3 songs or so. So it was me and Uli hanging out, watching Night Demon headline Hell Over Hammaburg. That was a cool moment.
Remember Uli's manager saying to me, hey, the first couple songs of the set, Uli was watching your drumming. And I think that kind of gave him peace of mind because I hadn't talked to him much before the show, because I was, drum doctoring a snare. He felt comfortable getting on stage, and he knew that I could hold down the backbone of the band and allow him to go out there and do his thing.
So, Night Demon's been running through their main set. They get to their last song, Darkness Remains, and as the outro fades out, they all know they're about to drop a huge surprise in the form of a German metal legend on a totally unsuspecting German crowd.
So we played our set, went through, got to the part where we were going to bring it out. It's kind of an encore thing. We checked his guitar from the side of the stage, made sure everything worked. Went out there and we just did it, and here he comes, like floating on a cloud on the stage with his majestic guitar. Just like the shaman master that he is, you know. And here he comes, just floating out there.
When he came out on stage at the start of the song, it looked like Uli John Roth's ghost just got on stage, and the way he just kind of glided onto the stage, it was just really, really cool to see his presence come out.
Uli John Roth, holy shit. And so you can see it in the video, just a big, huge smile on my face, man, just like loving it. And kind of laughing because we pulled it off.
We knew that Uli was going to come out, but the crowd had no idea that he was going to come out that night and play the song with us. And then the crowd to just pop when they saw him, and, you know, gave me goosebumps, and it just gives me goosebumps just talking about it and reliving that moment.
The looks on everybody's fucking faces, man, in the front row and stuff. I'm just like, what the hell, what?
People are kind of vibing it, but you can hear applauses start to happen after the first few bars, and that's when Uli walks out on stage, out of the darkness and onto the Night Demon stage.
So it was killer. We went through it. We did that song, then we did Top of the Bill together. And I mean, dude, what else can I say about it? It was just definitely one of the best, biggest highlights of my career, playing with one of the legends.
It really was special. It definitely was something that, way back in 2015 when we kicked the idea around of possibly doing In Trance and then me complaining about it. Here we are on stage with Uli, and it was something else, that's for sure.
I really did feel that moment of gratitude. Absolutely. It was just such a bucket list moment for us. And there was a magic that was happening. We were so tight on stage with him. It's just with no rehearsal, nothing. We had very little rehearsal on what we were doing. They're not our songs. Things just lined up. The planets aligned. Uli's magic, his spiritual animal, whatever he is, I mean, just completely came out that night and blessed all of us.
To me, it felt as if they are playing together since years. I really enjoyed it. I've seen many Uli shows and I've seen many Night Demon shows, and it just was like a perfect match to me. It really went well. It was a fantastic response from the audience, and I think the best moment for me personally was, and I think this is what Jarvis and the guys don't know about yet, it was when Uli and me have been alone in the dressing room. The guys have been gone. I don't know where they've been. And Uli looked at me and said, "It was really good to do this. Thank you." That was a priceless moment for me, because I knew that all the efforts of talking to him again and again and convincing him and trying to tell him that this is right for him and good for him have really been worth it. And this makes it something really special to me.
Hey guys, Nesbitt here. If you would like to support Night Demon and this podcast, the best way to do it is to become a Night Demon subscriber. Not only will you be doing your part to support a true heavy metal band out there really living it, you'll also gain access to a ton of extras. Bonus audio content, a subscriber-only merch store with rare items from the band's archives. You can stream never-before-heard demos and unearth live concerts from the live vaults. Communicate with the other Night Demon diehards on an exclusive subscriber forum, and gain early access to all press releases, album pre-orders, new merchandise, and a ton more. And another thing that I think is pretty cool is Night Demon will be donating 10% of every subscription fee to the Metal Cares Foundation, which is a charitable fund the band started in 2014 to aid those in our metal community. So head over to nightdemon.net/subscriber and join us as we make heavy metal history together as one. And on a side note, I'll personally think you're a grade A badass. So something I haven't really mentioned is the B-side to this single, which is Top of the Bill. So this is another Uli John Roth era Scorpion song. I kind of haven't mentioned it yet, but when the encore comes, they finish in trance and they go straight into the second Scorpion song. Here again is Dusty.
It really was cool. It was a great moment because we were the top of the bill for the first time in Hamburg, and that's a gigantic feat for us, and it was something that we always wanted to do, and to be able to end the night that way. I believe we played top of the bill and then Night Demon to close out. It was just incredible and such a fun song to play, and it was just super fitting. And a lot of cool stuff that Uli does in that song, and it's a fun song to play on drums.
Top of the bill!
So the second song of the encore, Top of the Bill, another awesome Scorpion song. Now, if you want to hear the full version of this, there's only two ways. Get your hands on one of the limited edition 7-inch records, or become a Night Demon subscriber at nightdemon.net/subscriber. You can stream some of these exclusive B-sides.
We're top of the bill that night. I mean, come on. That was it, man. I think that was our fucking, here we are, Germany. This is it. We're the top of the bill now, and you're not going to fucking, there's no way you're getting rid of us now. We're here, and we're here to stay.
Now, speaking of Night Demon performing in trance, there's another epic performance of this song, not as well known, but equally as legendary for people that were in attendance. It happened February of 2019 on the 70,000 Tons of Metal cruise. Here's T.A., bassist for the band Gotor, also stage tech for Night Demon on the 70,000 Tons of Metal cruise.
This is T.A. from Gotor. I want to tell you about one of the most perfect metal moments I ever experienced. I was working the pool deck on the 70,000 Tons of Metal cruise, and due to weather during the day, all the bands kind of got pushed back by a few hours. So by the time Night Demon went on, it was already nearly daybreak. The set was killer. They were destroying. In the middle of the set, right as the sun broke the horizon, they hit into Dawn Rider. Perfect timing on that. You couldn't imagine. Fantastic. They're killing it with that song. As the real light finally shines through the sky onto the stage, they broke into Scorpions in Trance. As Jarvis sang the line, "I wake up in the morning and the sun begins to shine," you could look around, everybody standing there. We're all holding our arms up and looking at the hair on our arms standing up because it was such a perfectly timed moment that you could have never, ever planned. It was once-in-a-lifetime experience, something that I will always remember for the rest of my life.
Man, to be at that show must have been amazing. Here's Kit Ekman. He was also at that show.
The thing about In Trance is it has this way of showing up at the most opportune times and just bringing magic with it. And it's not even something that gets planned. Here's an example of what I mean. Night Demon played the 70,000 Tons of Metal cruise, leaving out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and going down to Haiti in January of 2019. It was this big honor to play them, and I went along with them as a crew. And what wasn't so exciting about it was the fact that the band's time slots honestly weren't the greatest. The first show they played was they were scheduled to go on at 4:30 in the morning. It was a pool deck show. Pool deck is this stage is literally built on top of a swimming pool on the top deck of the ship. So it's an open-air gig. You got the sky all around, the water all around, and this is where Night Demon's supposed to go on at 4:30 in the morning. Well, there ended up being terrible weather that day, and the stage time got delayed by another hour. So it's 5:30 in the morning, and they're going on. Just ludicrous to go on that time of the morning, right? But there were actually people there, believe it or not, lots of people, and they were rocking. Better yet, the band was in just full fighting spirit that night. They play best when they've got a chip on their shoulder, and they had a little bit of attitude that night about the time slot, and so they just went after it. They got up on that stage and just played with pure ferocity for the whole set. And I was standing side stage and watching the most amazing thing happen during their set. When they started playing, it was pitch black outside. You couldn't see a thing. Total darkness. And as their set wore on, there got to be this little glimmer of blue in the sky. The sky started to lighten, and it was getting closer and closer to daybreak. And I'll be damned, I swear it got to where they played In Trance, and I'll remember this for the rest of my life. They start playing In Trance, and if you know the song, you know the first lines of the song are, I wake up in the morning and the sun begins to shine. The day did sneak up on the night. Well, as Jarvis is singing those words, I look out to the horizon, and there's the glimmer of the sun as the sun breaks the horizon over the water. I swear it happened that way. It couldn't have been choreographed better than that. It was this total spontaneous, unplanned thing, and it was beautiful. Somewhere out there's some time-lapse photos that I took from the side of the stage of the band, and you can see as it goes from darkness to day while they were on stage, and In Trance was right there at the perfect moment, like it always is.
So In Trance has become a Night Demon song that pops up occasionally in the set list, and when it does, it always seems to make a huge impact. But back to this version in Hamburg. So In Trance and Top of the Bill. Two Scorpions classics covered by Night Demon with Uli John Roth. It makes an awesome single and B-side. So the limited edition 45 is limited to only 800 copies worldwide. 250 red, 250 yellow, and 300 black. And it's the three colors that make up the German flag, which is a really cool touch. So if you've been trying to get your hands on these latest Night Demon singles, you probably noticed that they sell out after usually within a day, maybe two. So that's another perk of being a Night Demon subscriber. You'll get an early heads-up advance warning when these things are going on sale, and you'll be able to purchase advanced copies in the subscriber store. But for now, you can go to nightdemon.net/shop. Now there's two stores, one that ships from California, the other ships from Germany. So make sure you check that out before you order. So I'm looking at one of the singles right now in front of me, and I gotta say, this cover art is really, really cool. It has such a classic heavy metal vibe to it. I mean, this photo on the front, it looks like it could be from an early Maiden single. It really captures that classic European metal vibe.
Schrorg was actually the one who took the cover photo. I mean, I think he just went out to the audience during that moment and snapped it on his phone. It just had this vintage look and this vintage feel to it. And to me, immediately, without even being edited, it looked like, you know, No Sleep Till Hammersmith or Unleashed in the East. It just had that. It had that. The colors, it had the photo quality to it. It had everything. The lighting on the stage. It was just perfect right from the get-go. It was totally meant to be.
I had to go during the 2 songs to the audience and see it from the front and hear it and feel it. And that's what I did. And I held my phone up high and clicked on it on the camera like twice and did 2 pictures and sent these to Jarvis later on. And that the guys considered it to be good enough to become the single cover is something that just rounds up the whole thing for me. And with that, it's not a Night Demon single, it's not a Night Demon with Uli single. It's, for me personally, it's also my single. And I will store it next to my own releases in my own collection, next to Xenril, Migaze, or my band Fire. Check out fire666.bandcamp.com, by the way. Thank you.
So I don't know if it's just because it's new, it's the newest single, but right now this is one of my favorite Night Demon singles, by far. Oh, and if you haven't seen the video, go to nightdemon.net. There's a video you can watch of this entire performance. And it really drives home everything we've been talking about. It really is one of the most important nights in Night Demon history. It's a band from Ventura, California, who climbed their way up the German metal scene, headlining a sold-out festival at a classic Hamburg venue, making heavy metal history with a German heavy metal legend in front of what is essentially their adopted hometown crowd. So that's the story of In Trance. There's a lot more to the story, but we just can't fit it all into one episode. Head to nightdemon.net/subscriber for the rest of the story, including a massive behind-the-scenes photo gallery, images from the concert, the pre-show, backstage, candid shots of the band around Hamburg through the years, pictures of the set list, backstage, special moments offstage mentioned in this podcast episode. There's also the original In Trance live raw video cut from Hell Over Hammaburg. There's a bootleg video of In Trance live at Bang Your Head 2018. A bootleg of the guys in Night Demon doing a drunken version of Thin Lizzy's Boys Are Back in Town on the Reaperbahn. Vinyl stream of Top of the Bill, unedited interviews. There really is a ton of bonus content. That's nightdemon.net/subscriber. Until next time, this is Nesbitt signing off.
Thanks for listening to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. Head over to nightdemon.net, click on the subscriber tab, and sign up to access exclusive weekly bonus content. If you would like to donate to support the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, you can do so through PayPal at paypal.me/nightdemonmetal. Additionally, if you have not already done so, please subscribe, like, rate, and review the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.